Have you ever noticed how it's not really about the food? It's the moment right before when the house gets quiet or the day finally slows down. And something inside you starts asking for your attention. And instead of meeting it, you reach for something to soften it because it feels easier than sitting with yourself. A lot of women in midlife are noticing this, especially in the middle of transitions, when roles shift, relationships change, and there's more space to feel what's been there all along. So, what if emotional eating isn't the problem to fix, but a pattern pointing you back to yourself? Today, I'm joined by Lizzie Merritt. We talk about what's really happening in your brain and nervous system, how these patterns are formed, and what it looks like to start meeting yourself differently without turning it into another thing to control. Welcome, beautiful soul. This is Midlife Butterfly, the space where you remember who you truly are beneath all the roles, responsibilities, and expectations. I'm your empowerment guide, Ken as you, and I hold this space for women in midlife who are ready to rediscover themselves, reclaim their joy, and live fully aligned. If you are new here, welcome to our cocoon. You've just entered a place where choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's sacred. So take a deep breath, drop into your heart, and let's dive in. So in today's episode, we have the pleasure to have Lizzie Merritt. She helps women over 40 lose weight for good. No diet rules, no willpower, and no more starting over on Monday. Lizzie is a certified life coach and best-selling author of Light, the New Psychology of Weight Loss, and You Are a Miracle. She helps women stop blaming themselves for failing diets and finally understand how their brains actually work. As a former middle school science teacher, her work blends real-world brain science, humor, and a refreshingly honest approach to weight loss that actually fits real life. Lizzie is also a military spouse, big believer in the abundance of the universe, and unapologetically cries at cheesy commercials. If you ever thought, I know what to do, so what I can't just do it, this conversation is for you. Lizzie, welcome to Midlife Butterfly Podcast.
Kenneth, thank you so much. It is such an honor and a pleasure. I am so looking forward to our conversation talking about transitions and how emotional eating are patterns and just how we can come back to ourselves and step into more of ourselves as we go through this journey.
Yes, I can wait. So let's start with, I would like to know, what would you call this stage or season of your midlife?
Oh my, what would I call this stage? The I would call it the quest.
The
There we go.
quest.
Yes, I've gone through various stages where I would call it maybe the gauntlet, the transition, the challenge, but this is like the quest of like it's getting fun now. But but there's lots to get done. There's lots to do. And like, oh, let's go. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like fun, actually. Like adventurous, right?
Right.
Awesome. That's great. I would like you to share about your story about emotional eating, like what really happened into your life that brought you where you are now and you are helping women at this moment.
Sure, thanks. So I was, my kids were little. I was actually helping with fitness training for a friend. And so I knew all of the rules. I knew what to do. I knew all the things, what to eat. And yet I wasn't doing them. I would be good all day. And then my kids would come home from school and they'd have a snack and I'd have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And before I knew it, I was binging on goldfish crackers and Cheerios thinking, why did I do this again? And I felt so much shame and just imposter syndrome because I was a fitness instructor. And I really struggled with that. And eventually, due to my husband's job, we moved to Guam. And Guam is a very tiny island in a very, very large ocean. And so I was lonely and overwhelmed and all the feelings, and food and alcohol was my way to handle it. And one night I really overdid it. and woke up at 2:30 in the morning for some water and some Advil, and I went to my kids' room to check on them, but it really wasn't actually to check on them. It was to punish myself because I was saying all the awful things in my head of, what kind of mother acts like this? What awful thing, what patterns are you teaching
Mhm.
your children? And it all came down to the worst thought of all, which is you don't deserve them. And that was a really low moment, but it was an important turning point for me to realize I gotta figure something out. Like diets aren't working clearly, and but this pattern isn't going anywhere. And so with a lot of learning self-compassion, learning how to love myself and be messy, I learned to try and figure out what is that missing piece. Because if diets aren't working, what is missing? I knew there was something,
Mhm.
something missing. And so I dove into behavior change and brain research. And I began to realize that actually, when our nervous system doesn't feel safe, then we are not capable of following the quote unquote rules that we know to do because the nervous system is like, I need safety. If food or alcohol is my definition of safety, then that's going to trump any rule that I know. And it really opened things up for me to realize, oh, it's not that something was wrong with me. I just didn't understand how my brain worked. And so I began to learn how to teach my body and my brain to feel safe very slowly,
Mhm.
both with the stressors of life, but also with my feelings, which, whoever taught us how to feel those. And over
Nobody.
time, I began to realize that diets really are the exact opposite way of how to lose weight, and it leads to a lot of emotional eating. And so emotional eating is actually a pattern, it's a signal, and there's so much juicy stuff underneath the surface you can learn from it if you can begin to read what it's telling you.
Mm. Thank you for sharing all that. Just, I mean, just imagine, I imagine yourself going to that room with your kids. It just gave me chills because it's amazing how we punish ourselves. And I believe more as women, because of course they are in charge in the case of you. So it's like, yeah, do I deserve them? Because I'm not even taking care of myself. So how am I supposed to do it with them? What
Right.
example am I giving them?
And I mean, that's part of why I am so passionate about what I get to do now, because I see so many women are walking around in that same just blanket of shame that I was.
Yeah.
And there's so much pain that we're putting on ourselves that we don't need to. And just like I said, when I realized it wasn't that something was wrong with me, I just didn't understand how my brain worked. I want to tell everyone, like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's that you were taught the wrong message. Let's help you figure it out in a way that you don't have to shame yourself and judge yourself, and you can let go of that blanket of shame and start to live into who you are.
Yes. And what is some of the things that you share that you help women with to actually release that blanket of shame that it might be so heavy?
Yeah. Well, I come about it from a couple different angles, but the main one is instead of trying to follow rules, let's
Mhm.
experiment. Let's
Ah,
play a little
that's.
bit. Let's just see what happens. That's where my former middle school science teacher brain comes in of like, you know what? Let's let's get a little messy. Let's see what happens. And what that does, particularly with weight loss is really tricky. It's not just your average everyday goal. It's not like I want to write a book or I want to, I don't know, get a job. Weight loss is very, very personal. It's very tied to our identity. It's the body we live in. And so many of the clients I talk to will tell me it feels like my failure is out on display for the whole world to see in the size of my clothes, in the
Oof.
seatbelt extender I need on the airplane. And so weight loss is very, very personal. And so it's very high stakes. And so failure, it's not, again, it's not your average day fear of failure. It is really, really intense because if I quote unquote fail at trying to lose weight, I am a failure. It's very identity invoking. And so the reason why I look at things from an experimental lens where it's like, let's just see what happens, let's play with it. I want to reduce that fear of failure. That like we're learning. And
Mhm.
learning is all about trying something, seeing what happens, gathering some data, and then let's adjust and iterate. And that's what all weight loss is. a process of change. And to order to change, you have to be able to learn. But if you ever have been into a
Mhm.
kindergarten classroom, you know that learning doesn't happen if a child doesn't feel safe. And same thing is happening in our brains. We need to feel safe in order to be able to learn. And so it's all about creating that safety so that you can learn.
Mm. So it means that you work, I guess, maybe first more into the nervous system before then moving to some, in the case, to that testing or that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
exactly. Now, I like to say that I love analogies. So, one of my analogies is that weight loss is a lot like an iceberg. And so, what to do in order to lose weight is that stuff we see above the surface, the action steps. And most of us know that. We know
Mhm.
those things. But all the reasons why it's hard to follow through on those what to do things is all of that big iceberg that's underneath the surface.
Yeah.
And while there are definitely themes, everybody's iceberg is a little bit unique because no one has had your life experiences, the thing that somebody said to you in second grade, the traumas, the diets you've tried. And so everyone's iceberg is a little bit unique. So I always kind of meet each individual client where they're at.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that's why, we have all these labels with different kind of eating ways, right? I don't know, vegetarian, vegan, paleo, and whatever else it is. But at least for what I have experienced in my life, I don't like using those labels because then it's like, but if I say I'm vegan and then, or vegetarian, and then I'm eating meat, it's again part of the identity, what other people are going to think too. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but no, but if you're really listening to your body
Hmm.
and follow it, is just do what your body is telling you what it needs at that very moment,
Hmm.
so you don't have to really marry with this title and then yeah, then get stuck in there.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, sometimes when I meet someone and I tell them what I do and they say, well, do you ascribe to a certain type of diet or, paleo, vegan, et
Yeah.
cetera? And I said, no, or I say no, because any diet will work as long as you can do it forever. And
Mhm.
so I actually tell my clients, I don't ever want you to diet again. I want you to figure out the system that works for you that so
Mhm.
that you can not only lose weight, but you can live at a lower weight because this is about living at a lower weight, not just losing the weight. Yeah.
Mm. Yes. Yeah, me and diets, I also am like, yeah, no. And then also because one of the things I said, yeah, about the calories, yeah, but a banana can have the same amount of calories that a cookie. And so what's better? I think a banana is healthier than a cookie. So it's just too many things that it's about, I guess, questioning sometimes, not just because someone says so. So it's more,
Hmm.
okay, like as you said, experiment. What does it work with you? Because you are unique. So what does it work for you specifically?
Yes. And to me, the interesting question is less about what's better, the banana or the cookie. It's more, kind of why do you want the cookie? If it's, let's say it's 9:30 at night and you're not hungry, but you're like, I really want cookies. I'm like, this is so fascinating.
Mhm.
Why? What's going on? What's that iceberg underneath the surface where you're like, I don't really want a banana right now. I want a cookie. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, okay, that's great. Tell me more. There's so much good juiciness there.
Yeah. And I guess just asking that question and pausing to ask that question
Right.
instead of just going right away towards the cookie, right?
Yeah, well, because we have so much judgment of like, I shouldn't have a cookie, I shouldn't this, and then I was bad because I had the cookie. And like, again, you can't learn if you don't feel safe. And all of that judgment creates a lack of safety.
Yeah. And what do you think is actually like that urge in that case? If I would like to take this cookie,
Hmm.
like what is usually some of the things that we actually that are behind that we don't notice or we don't take better say we don't take the time to notice?
Sure. Great question. And there's buffet of answers. So it's your unique iceberg, but I'll give you a couple of typical ones.
Yeah.
So let's say someone is eating, a bunch of sleeve of Oreos of cookies at 9:30 at night. And so why? For one person, it might be this is the first time all day she's had a moment of quiet. No one is asking anything of her, and it is her one moment of time for herself. And she's like, finally, something for me. That could be one.
Mhm.
There could be somebody else, let's say someone who is single and is lonely, and she has a memory that she loved her grandmother and her grandmother showed her love through Oreos and cookies. And it's 9:30 at night and she's feeling lonely, and the Oreos make her feel a sense of connection and comfort to someone she loved. That could be a different reason.
Mhm.
Somebody else could have had a day where, the day was the day, but then a partner said something, and the story she tells herself is, I'm the only one that ever gets anything done around here. They don't appreciate me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is, I'll show them. And so and it feels like this is my one opportunity to claim something that's mine. Like it's my, we've been people pleasing and doing and saying yes to everybody else all day while internally quietly saying no to ourselves. Don't say that. Be the nice girl. And the cookie is like the one time where you're like, here's what I want, and it matters. So that's just three examples of like one action could mean lots of different things. Depends on the person.
Wow.
Like, oh
Like,
man.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy because I mean, I can relate to all of that, to all of those. And
Right.
as you said, it's just different approach and but it happens and it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the
Wow.
things when I was doing research for my recent book was I wanted to give the framework of how to approach weight loss specifically, but really anything, but weight loss from that experimental, lighthearted, less shameful mindset. But
Mhm.
then I also wanted to talk about let's address the things that get in the way, like people pleasing. You've been saying yes to everybody all day. You've been the nice
Yeah.
person. Of course I'll, run that errand for you, or I'll pick you up when it's really inconvenient for me. Or of course, all those things. And eating can become the one way that we make a choice for ourselves. And so it comes out kind of sideways. Or perfectionism. We've got like when we were little, the only way to feel safe at home, perhaps there was an authoritative parent that our little child brain learned, I've got to be perfect or I'm not safe. And so now here I am as an adult. I've got to be perfect with the diet, but life happened and I had the cookie. Well, I'm a failure. And so, like, I wanted to talk about all those things that, keto or Weight Watchers, they don't tell you about perfectionism. They don't tell you about people pleasing and, excuses and so forth. And so it's like, let's talk about that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you mentioned this because I mean, we are holistic beings. So of course everything is connected, right? So it's like being it from that way and not only what's your eating pattern or your belief, but what's really behind it. Because as you said, it's about the story of the person, the way they have experienced life and their trauma and all this. And then I think most of the people, if not everyone, at one point we were people pleasers.
Oh, yeah.
And having something to eat right away, no matter where, it's easy, right? Just to pick it up
Right.
here and there. We can be in the car, we can be in the metro, we can be walking. And
Mhm.
it's just like, as you said, probably doing something that we don't want to do or saying yes when we wanted to say no, and then just showing that.
Right. And one of the things that I just love so much kind of about your message of the midlife butterfly is that as we come into midlife, one of the beautiful things about getting older is part of us is like, I could care less about what people think. Well, okay, I care a little less at least.
Mhm.
But we're beginning to question, is this it? Is this everything? Is this who I want to be? And it's such a beautiful time, a cocoon, as you say, for us to be able to look at those old stories, those old patterns that we've been living forever
Yeah.
and why. Like, it's not your fault, but like,
Mhm.
let's look at them. And as we transform into the butterfly we're becoming, are those old patterns something that you want to continue to choose? Or now that we are getting into midlife and, who we are evolving into, what do you want to choose for yourself? Because you do have that power.
Yes. Yeah, we're more powerful than we think.
Yeah.
It's just that I guess it's a little bit of lack of a self trust in there to really say, yeah, I can actually do it. I can choose me
Hmm.
and still take care of others, but choosing myself and then yeah, I don't know. It's just
It feels
yeah,
scary
it
because it's
is.
new and it's different. And
It is.
there's that Marianne Williamson quote that, we don't fear our failures, we fear how powerful and amazing we could be. Um,
Yeah,
and I think there's something to that.
I think it is because I was talking with another guest the other day, the fact that we have a checklist of what things we're supposed to do, right? Like, I don't know, from school and university, and then you have a boyfriend and then get married and have kids, and you have the checklist. But there is like at midlife, from there on,
Right.
there's no checklist.
I know.
Right? So we kind of feel lost. Like, okay, what am I gonna do now? Even though, like at this point, I already dropped the freaking checklist, but
Yeah.
at least in the beginning, we kind of have like a guideline.
Right.
And I was like, okay, all this is happening, all these transitionings, there are losses of dear people, I don't know, separation, empty nesters, all these transitions in life. And I was like, what do I do?
Right.
And we feel
Yeah.
powerless
Hmm.
because of course we want to have the control, which most of the time we don't. But anyway, the fact that is like, okay, so now this is what I have. Like, what do I choose? And who I
What do I
want to,
choose?
yes.
Yeah. And that's really interesting because, again, like the beauty of your message is, what do you want to choose? Ask the question, choose it
Mm.
intentionally instead of just being like, this is so disoriented. I feel out of control. You know what? Let's eat. And so,
Yes.
which, we might do that too, which
Uh-huh.
is totally understandable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, let's ask, what do I want to choose? And you
Mhm.
probably won't have an answer. Your answer will probably change 18 times, but it's still
Yes.
so beautiful to ask the question. That's the gorgeousness of this, new blooming, this new blossoming time in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think that like binge eating, like these kind of patterns about eating, do you think they increase more during this period of our life in midlife because of all these transitions? How do you
Ooh.
see it or how you experience it so far?
That is a really good question. It depends on the person and
Okay.
if they're asking those questions, if they're choosing to, the transitions are going to happen no matter what. And the transitions are, each person has their own experience, but they're not, nobody does it perfectly because there's no such thing.
Hmm.
And so there's going to be the overeats, there's going to be the overdrinks, there's going to be the things that we turn to numb or, like, oh, I didn't love that choice. But the people who are able to transition in a way that you know, they love, they're blooming, are the people who are asking, what do I want to choose and why? And, they may go through a couple of years of the answer to what do I want to choose is, I don't know, but at least they're looking versus just feeling like stuck and trapped and like there's nothing I can do about this. And, for those of us who have felt stuck and trapped and I don't know what to do, that doesn't mean you're powerless. You can ask for help. I mean, that's another thing we get to learn as
Yes.
in midlife. You can ask for help. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes we become such a, what's the word? Lone wolves, that we
Oh, right.
forget that there's people there who are actually
Mhm.
there for us. But no, no, I'm the independent one, and I'm the, I don't know, just
Sure.
feeding the ego here, like saying I can do it on my own. But at the end, it's like we're having this beautiful conversation, and hopefully a lot of the audience are really going to benefit from this. And it has to be a co-creation part, and sometimes we forget that part of
Yeah.
co-creating with others and how we can nourish and support each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Wow.
so many of us have spent decades probably of like, identifying as I am the one who holds it together. I am the one who gets things done. If something's wrong, I am the fixer. And
Yeah.
frankly, that feels good to be relied on for that. Like we get a lot of validation for that. At the same time, it's lonely, you know. Who helps when like the fixer, the person who is the getter of things done when she's tired, you know? And so it's a great again opportunity to just question, do I want to keep operating by those old rules or can I choose what rules I want to define for myself now?
Mm, yeah. And I think that's the important thing. How do I want to define it for myself? Not set on whatever is out there or what other people are telling me.
Right. Right. And that can be really challenging depending
Hmm.
on, you know, our cultural or societal upbringing or again like traumas and so forth that you may have experienced as a young person or even just life circumstances. Again, maybe you're alone and you're like, I feel untethered. I don't know how to navigate this. And so it's all there's lots of reasons for turning to food to cope, you know,
Hmm.
emotionally. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. And so, because you said it's not about control of what we eat or restriction, but I think at one point, I don't know, how do you make it work? So then, I mean, we talked about the nervous system before. So it's just the only thing that you think we gotta kind of like rearrange for us to don't feel that restriction or control so we can do things long term with our eating habits? Or yeah, or is there something else that you work with? Well, besides, of course, we talk about emotional eating. What is behind? But I'm wondering to really be able to maintain it long term. Yeah, what is it? How is it that you help?
Sure. So we'll start kind of high level and I'll break it down into three steps.
Okay.
So going back to that idea of the iceberg,
Hmm.
the what to do is the stuff on top. So pick your eating pattern of choice,
Okay.
whether that's, I just want to have a balanced diet or I want to follow vegetarian or it really doesn't matter to me. Pick if you're like, I really would like to have donuts 3 times a day. I'm like, all right, we can start there. So start with here's how I would like to eat in a way that I feel
Uh-huh.
like I can live my life. In general, most of the people I work with, they're like, I can do pretty well at breakfast and lunch. Dinner is sometimes a little off the rails. Weekends can get a little, sideways. I'm like, all right, let's start there. Let's start with your real life.
Hmm.
And then when in those moments when you don't follow kind of what you think you want to do, and I very purposely did not say what you're supposed to do,
Mm.
when you didn't follow what you would like to do for yourself,
Hmm.
that is the moment. That is the treasure chest where that you can open it up and find the gold underneath. Except that so many of us look at that moment when we didn't follow what we wanted to do and we're like, ugh, I blew it. And we look at that treasure chest and we're like, that is an ugly box.
Hmm.
And I say, no, let's open it up and find the gold and the treasure inside. So here's the three steps. When you have a moment you didn't follow what you wanted to do, number one, start with regulating your nervous system. So this is like a mind body tool. And I will tell you, I knew about mind body tools for years. And I was like, those are cute. That's nice. I should do that. And didn't do it ever until I realized, because I love me some science, that when your body is activated, 80% of our nervous system is below the neck. So when your body is activated, like it's the body is in charge. Like the messages are not coming up the neck to the brain. So basically you're in a fight or flight and your body is like, all right, let's send the oxygenated blood to our heart, our lungs, and our muscles. Get ready to run away, which means that oxygenated blood is not in your brain. So you cannot think your way out of a dysregulated response. Dysregulation can happen because you're stressed, because somebody said something, because you've got a story in your head of like, I always fail, you're tired, any kind of reason. Like it happens to all of us all the time. Like there's no judgment or shame. And so you want to start with step one is regulate your nervous system. Put
Mhm.
your hand on your heart. Do some breathing exercises. One of my favorites is called VU breathing. So that's V as in Victor, O O. And you just breathe in and you make that sound, VU, as you breathe out.
Oh,
Nice long exhale. And that helps in two ways because when you exhale longer than you inhale, that signals safety to the body because you're not running away from something with really large teeth. And also the VU vibrates your vocal cords. And so that massages your vagus nerve, which is a big bundle of nerves that goes all the way up and down the front of our body. And the nervous system is like, okay, okay. And that just allows a little bit of that gorgeous, beautiful oxygenated blood to return to your brain so you can have a little bit of thinking power back in your brain. So that
yeah.
was step one.
I love that kind of breathing, by the way. Yeah, it is so soothing. It's magical.
Oh, I know. It's the best. And sometimes I'll do that with clients. But beforehand, I'll be like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how uncomfortable or anxious do you feel? And they'll say like a 7 or an 8. And
Mhm.
we do 5 of those breaths. And afterwards, they're like, I'm at a 4. What did you do? And it's like, well, it's magic. Okay, so step two is
Yeah,
then to check in with your feelings. And this is something that nobody ever taught us to do, is to how to feel
yeah,
your feelings.
agreed.
And it's surprisingly simple and n- even not that hard, but it's profoundly scary. And so here's what you do. You simply say, what am I feeling? And you're looking for like one word: anxious, angry, confused, frustrated. And then you say, here's the important part: I am allowed to feel that way.
Mm.
I don't have to fix feeling anxious. For just 1 minute, I'm allowed to just feel anxious or frustrated, whatever the word is. And then you take a big deep breath and you blow it all out. Now, I like doing it 5 times because a lot of times the really, sticky feeling is like buried a third or fourth layer deep. But just, I'm allowed to feel anxious. I'm allowed to feel angry. How many times have you told yourself, I'm allowed to feel angry? Never. You're
Mhm.
supposed to fix it. You're supposed to do something. You're supposed to be nice. And we judge ourselves for
Yeah,
feeling whatever, and we don't let ourselves feel it. And so for just 60 seconds, you can say, I'm allowed to feel whatever the feeling is.
yeah.
So that's step two. Step three is then, what's the story I'm telling myself? The story I'm telling myself is, I really want the Oreos
Mhm.
because I deserve it. I really want the Oreos because I'm bored. I really want the Oreos because they just taste good. And so that is sort of like a doorway in. It's not necessarily
Mhm.
going to solve really what's going on, but it just helps you begin to investigate and be like,
Yeah,
all right, what really is, if I'm not actually hungry, like what is going on here? What does my brain think the Oreos will solve? So there you go.
yeah. Wow. I love it. And it's simple. It's simple, but I understand at the same time, as you say, it's scary to get there
Mhm.
because, well, first of all, as you said, we tend to go fix the thing, but
Right.
how are we gonna fix the problem if we are with the same energy of the problem, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's about then pausing, as you said, and regulating the nervous system just to taking this breathing
Hmm.
and then just allowing the feelings. I It is so important. It is so important. Otherwise, we just got stuck in there. And then I guess we pile up with more other emotions in there when we try to reject it or ignore it.
Yep.
That is just, it gets worse. Is if we,
Yes.
as you said, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, it might fade away or it might just at least soothe a bit and
Right.
we don't feel again like the nervous system or in the fight or flight just because we are avoiding
Right.
that little time.
And what's so interesting too is I find sometimes smart women struggle even more to feel their feelings because they're like, well, this feeling doesn't make sense because like I totally understand what triggered it, but it shouldn't be here because it's illogical. And
Yeah, but
I
that's
mean,
the thing. They're
yeah,
trying to feel with the mind. You cannot feel with the
right.
mind.
I was in a coaching session where I was the client not too long ago and I was explaining the situation and my coach said, you're feeling shame. I was like, I know, but it doesn't make any sense because reason, reason, reason. And she's like, so what? I did not have a response to that. I was like, oh, I guess I'm just supposed to feel shame. Crap. Okay. So we're all on this journey together.
Yeah, yeah. But it's funny how we try to figure out everything.
I know. Yeah.
We always try to figure out something that, like, if it doesn't have logic for the mind, it's like, no, it cannot be. Well, it is actually happening, so it is there.
So true.
So
Yes.
just let it be.
Right. It's here. So what do you want to do about it? How about we feel it? Oh, fine.
Oh my God, it's hilarious how we actually, yeah, I think it's just this funny thing, just to look at our humanness in this way. It's just like, okay, just laugh about it instead of crying about it, right?
Yeah. Or cry too. Like that's also allowed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
also valid.
Yeah.
Ah, how can you help women differentiate between physical hunger and emotional hunger?
Oh, so it's a good question. So I have the sort of official answer and then a hack.
Okay.
So a lot of times I'll ask my clients like, when when are you overeating? Like, well, I have a snack in the afternoon. I say, okay, are you hungry? And they're like, I think so. And so I said,
Mm.
here's what I want you to do. When you think you're hungry, ask yourself with no judgment, how do I know? What physical signals is my body sending me that's telling me I'm hungry? And now everybody's body is different. I mean, some signals are, uniform across, but like your body is your unique one of a kind fingerprint. So it's very useful to get to know your body's signals. Sometimes you know you're hungry because your stomach is grumbling. Sometimes you might have sort of like some brain fog and some distraction. A weird hunger signal I have is that I get this sort of anxious, tight tension in my chest. It's a signal to me that my cortisol is rising because I haven't eaten in too long. And I'm like, oh, what do you know? Time to eat.
Mm.
Now that's one that I need to check in with. It's like, is this an eating thing or my thoughts are creating some stress? So that's the sort of official answer. Ask yourself, how do I know I'm hungry? But the hack is pick a food that is fine. Like you don't hate it, but it's not exciting to you. So a hard-boiled egg, some carrots, an apple, something that's like, it's fine. But, you know, you're not jonesing for it at 9:30 at night. And so then you ask yourself, would I have an apple right now? Would I have a hard-boiled egg? Am I that kind of hungry? And if the answer is
Mm.
no, again, it's not a problem. It's a signal. This is
Yeah.
this is your treasure chest. Let's open it up. Be like, interesting. Why do I want the Oreos and not the hard-boiled egg? Oh, I'm avoiding that email I'm supposed to write because I'm afraid of getting rejected. Oh, yeah, that. Okay. That kind of thing.
Mm. I love it. And it's funny coming back to the mind, like we want to figure out everything with our mind, but then we forget to ask these kind of smart questions to
Mhm.
get us out of the way, or just to get the clarity that we need at that very moment when we're taking an action that in a way feels like off.
Right. And it's so interesting when you talk about like we want to solve everything with the mind, which makes sense. Our society absolutely is geared towards that. But our bodies are this incredible miracles. Like if you think about all the things that are happening in your body that are going right for you just to be here and be breathing, wow. Your eyes can
Yeah.
see, your heart is beating, your ears can hear, all the things. It's just how does your body know how to do that? And so our bodies have so much wisdom. And a lot of times when we've had decades of trying to lose weight, we have really disconnected from our bodies because it has felt like a battle forever. They're like, my body is not obeying what I want it to do. It is not losing the weight. It's not being the shape that I want. And it becomes a very antagonistic relationship between you and your body. And that's where I wrote my first book called You Are a Miracle,
Hmm.
because I was like, I had to go through this, my own journey of battling against myself. And finally I was like, this is ridiculous. Diet and exercise are not making me happy. So it's got to be something else. Maybe it's between my ears. And I began to realize, you know, me and my body are going to be together for a long time. Maybe we could make this a partnership. Like, even if we just make it neutral, that would probably be a net positive. And so I spent a full year just spending some daily time practicing, thinking about like, all right, what's going on inside my body? Again, I really like science. So it's like I think about the scientific processes, like what is happening in my digestion right now? How does my body know how to release those enzymes? That is crazy. What a miracle. Wow. And then you can, find a body part. It's crazy, amazing. And you can find ways to feel awe and gratitude for your body for what's going right today, even if it's not the size that you want it to be.
Yeah. And the thing is, there are so many shapes, so many colors, so many expressions of the body itself. But I think the media has sold us something
Yeah.
that we just are following. And I think that's probably where this battle starts. What you are saying, this fight that we have within us, saying, no, but I'm not this size. I'm not like this. I'm not like that. Yeah, but your body is different.
Right. And that desire to fit into the mold that we're told
Hmm.
by society, by our parents, whatever, is innate because as human beings, we are social creatures. And back in the caveman, cave gal days, we survived by getting along and assimilating into the group. And so it's baked into our DNA to want to fit in. And
Yeah.
so if you look at yourself and you say, my body size, style, etc., doesn't fit in with what I'm told I'm supposed to look like, it's a legitimate nervous system threat. Like your nervous system feels like this could be a life-threatening event or threat because I'm not like the others. And back in the cave gal days, if you were different and you were ostracized, you would get eaten by something big and, you know, with teeth. And so that's like why it is so prevalent in our minds to be like, I want to be what what I'm supposed to look like. And so we don't even see that it's like this cultural image was thrust upon us. We're like, no, no, it's what I want. You're like, well, it's what somebody told you to want, and now you want it.
Yes, that's the thing. Somebody told you to want,
Right.
because your soul doesn't mind. Your soul just wants this
Exactly.
avatar, this body, as you said. It's we have some amazing machinery in here, and we take it for granted.
Right.
That when we take that pause of saying, "Yeah, I am grateful for everything you are giving me, for everything that I am," and as you said, like all the functions in the body, we don't even have to do anything,
Right.
right? At least like one of the things will be to actually feed the body as properly as we can so it can function the best it can for as long as it can.
Hmm.
So the responsibility that we have is not as much, if we can put it that way, for the 24-hour work that the body is doing every second.
Right. Right. It's an interesting point. I'm gonna mess up this quote, but there's a quote that like something about like the sun gives the earth light and energy every single day without a thank you, and it just does.
Hmm.
And you know, what kind of love is that? That's amazing. And so what you as you
Hmm.
were describing the body, it's like the body is like the sun, like I'm gonna show up for you today because I love you, because I'm here.
Yes.
And so again, I butchered that quote, but anyway, it made me think of that.
Yeah. No, but it's beautiful because that's the thing. It
Hmm.
loves us so much that it's still here
Hmm.
and still struggling. And the thing is sometimes, when we get fat or something, it's because the body's trying to actually protect our organs for all the crappy food that we are giving it.
Hmm.
And it's just creating that fat around to protect. And that's some of the things that we don't know or we don't understand. I remember I took a certification as a coach in habits. So we talk about a lot about the eating habits. And when I remember when I hear that, it's like, oh my God, I have this belly and my body is actually protecting me. And I'm
Yes.
rejecting it.
Yes.
Like it just like I couldn't believe it.
Yes. And I mean, there's again, that iceberg, there could be, I've met many clients who perhaps they had a reason, again, a trauma or something that feeling seen, feeling slim, attractive, noticed, got them unwanted attention. And so the psyche puts on fat as a barrier, as a self-protection mechanism. It helps me feel safe from being too noticed, from being vulnerable in that way again. And it's like, oh my gosh, our body does that for us. It's saving us. It's a binge. How many clients have I talked to who binge and they judge themselves like crazy for that behavior? And when we unpack it, I help them understand that that behavior is not bad. It is like your nervous system throwing you that rescue buoy saying something crazy is going on in your nervous system, and the binge is a way to save you from it because it makes everything else go quiet. And so once they realize, oh, the binge is not morally like this weakness, it's my nervous system rescuing me from whatever the noise is in my head. It doesn't fix it, but it reduces a lot of the shame and the judgment. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that is step one.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. Do you have do you have more examples like that? Because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah. So I had another client who found herself snacking pretty consistently around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, are you hungry? She's like, well, yeah. We did the apple test, and she's like, probably not, because I'm reaching for the chips and the cookies. And so I was like, well, tell me about the rest of your day. And she's like, well, I'm an introvert, but my job has me, interacting with people a lot during the day. Plus, we've had some layoffs. And so basically, she's doing the job of three people. And so she's having to interact with people, which is different. Like her nervous system feels a little bit fight or flightish from that. Plus, she's got lots of extra responsibilities. So it's like, you're just that afternoon snack is your nervous system rescuing you from the stress, from saying, like, I am dysregulated. I am out of my window of tolerance. Food is a way for me to feel safe. It's also a way for me to get a break, you know, because a lot of us only allow ourselves a chance to take a break if I'm doing something quote unquote productive, and eating feels at least mildly productive.
That's
How many
so
of us allow
true.
ourselves to just rest and do nothing else?
Ooh, rarely.
Right. So
Yeah.
what we did was we're like, all right, if there's a pattern, this is great. Because if it's a pattern, it's not a surprise. If it's not a surprise, you can expect it. And if you can expect it, you can plan for it. So we built in that like a break for her around 2 o'clock where she would shut the door to her office. She would take a couple of breaths. We do that. What am I feeling? I'm allowed to feel that way. Big breath, blow it out, do
Mhm.
it 5 times. And she would message me afterwards. But it was like, so we had a little bit of accountability because it's so easy to be like, that's a good idea. And then we never do it. And
Mhm.
so we set up a little of accountability. So it was like, tell me that when you did it, what did you notice? And she began to realize that she felt more in control. Her urges
Mm.
were less. Like she still had stress, she still had things she had to do, but she was like, I don't need the food as much. And so it took the urge down from like a 9 to a 6 to a 5. And it also
Wow.
took away some of the judgment from the urge. Instead of like, why can't I stop eating chips at 4 o'clock? It was like, oh, it makes sense why I want to eat chips. Okay. I can still have the chips. It's one way, it's just a coping tool, but you can add in other ones as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Uh, as you said, there's an identity shift that needs to happen for us to, or for the person to really get out of this, how we see ourselves, better said,
Mhm.
either just physically or I guess not only that, it has to be also emotionally and mentally, because sometimes, at least I noticed in myself, like at one point I remember in university I gained a lot of weight, and even though afterwards I lose it, I was still seeing myself as fat, if I can put it that way.
Sure.
So how is it sometimes that, how can we get to that like identity shift to
Mhm.
really say, no, like I'm not that anymore, or I don't look like that anymore?
Such a good question. And is really common, whether like particularly for clients who have lost a lot of weight, like 100 pounds or more. I hear very often that they don't even know what size clothes to buy because they're buying the XXL and they'll try it on and they're like, this is way too big. But there's a disconnect in their brain of like, I can't quite see that my body is a smaller size now. And so that it
Oh.
really takes some proactive effort. But for my clients who have gotten to, a lower weight or maintenance, it still is a very intentional mindset shift that like there's a dieter and a maintainer is not the same thing. And so that's why I tell my clients, I don't ever want you to diet again. I want you to learn to be a normal eater. And so here's what I say is that
Mhm.
a dieter follows rules or rebels against the rules. A normal eater makes choices.
Mm.
So, for example, if you were to stay up late tonight, you would make that choice. You'd probably feel tired tomorrow. It's a choice. It has an outcome. It's not moral. It's not good or bad. It's just logically, I stayed up late. I feel tired. Let's move on. If you stayed out in the sun, a logical outcome is your skin would be sensitive, maybe a little red. It's not good or bad. It's not moral. It's just I made a choice. Perhaps I was having fun with my family, whatever it was, logical outcome. If you lift weights, it's not good. It's not bad. Logical outcome, your muscles are sore. If you eat a loaf of bread, logical outcome, the scale will be up tomorrow because you're holding on to water. If you have, I don't know, salad, logical outcome, the scale, your body's going to use up that energy and the scale will be lower eventually. And so neither the bread nor the salad is good or bad. It's simply a choice with logical outcomes. And so,
Mhm.
for example, I recently was traveling and, when you travel, sometimes you have opportunities for unusual foods that you don't always eat. So I love cookies. Got a chance to have some cookies. And so it's a choice. Is the taste of this cookie worth the outcome on the scale tomorrow? In my case, I was like, yes. By the way, this cookie was delicious. It was worth it. It wasn't the Chips Ahoy. And so it's not like, oh, I was bad because I had the cookie. It's like I proactively chose to have the cookie. I proactively know it's going to have a little bit of an impact on the scale, but it's really just going to be a little impact unless I say, oh, I was bad. The heck with it. We're going to, just eat whatever all the rest of the day. And so that's kind of how I encourage clients to go through that identity shift from a dieter to a normal eater to be thinking about like I just want to make choices and you can like your choices, you can not like your choices, but you don't have to make it moral. You don't have to make it good or bad or mean anything about you.
I love what you said because I think it's so important. At least that's some of the things that I practice is the fact that, okay, I'm going to give myself permission to eat this. I don't know. I love cheesecake, for example, and I will eat it once, I don't know, every few months. But when I eat it, it's like, I'm going just to enjoy it.
Yes, please. I mean, what's the point of having cheesecake if you're going to guilt yourself all over it? Like have cheesecake and love it.
Exactly. And then there's no guilt, there's nothing. I already, my the craving that I was having, then it will go away and then again it will happen in a few months.
Yeah.
Instead of then having that craving over and over again
Mhm.
and then not allowing myself to have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's just so interesting how we behave and how our mind plays us so many times. And it's that awareness that we gotta have to really say, okay, what's in there? Not only in the mind, but in the body as well.
Yes, and it comes back to the kind of the idea of the midlife butterfly of like in our youth, it just by being a member of society, we were taught these rules, these diets, be this way and so forth. And now in midlife where we get to be like, hey, wait a second. I was sold these rules that I'm supposed to do this, look like that, and so forth. Do I still buy that? Do I want
Mm.
to choose that? And if the answer is yes, fine. If the answer is, well, a little bit, fine. Like the idea is that you get to choose for yourself that like awareness, what are the rules I'm, sort of secretly abiding by, and then what do I want to choose intentionally for myself?
Yeah, definitely. It's about giving ourselves that permission,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Wow. Ah, it has been such a beautiful conversation. I'm just enjoying it so much, Lizzie. And I would like to know, like, if you would like to add something else that you consider is very important or it's relevant for our audience that with your experience and with your wisdom, it's worth knowing.
Thank you for that invitation. And one of the things that I believe in so strongly is that weight loss is just a gateway to, you can lose weight, you cannot lose weight, but the whole reason why we are here, incarnated as souls into these bodies, is to be who we are. Like the divine created you very, very intentionally with your flaws, with your weirdness, with your quirks, not as a mistake, but very much on purpose. And it is those flaws, it is that weirdness that allows the divine to shine through you. And so the more you can live into who you are, if you want to lose weight, great. But like, don't let the weight hold you back from stepping into who you are so you can shine your light from within and be that vessel of the divine that wants to be expressed through you. And so the the more you can be you and let go of the chains that you've been holding back because you're supposed to look like that or you're supposed to act like that, be as you can be, and you honor the divine as who you were made to be.
What a beautiful message. Thank you. Thank you. And I would like to close with asking you this question. What's a pleasure that you enjoy the most?
I have lots, but I would say one fun thing I enjoy doing is I'll listen to a cheesy young adult romantic book on Audible and do a paint by numbers. And I just got the book in my ears and it is so dorky and I'm just like painting away and I'm happy as a clam.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. All your contact information, I'm gonna share it in the show notes. And I know you're having a gift for our audience. That is the bonuses that you have for your book Light. Am I correct? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're also adding that to the show notes so people can, add up over there and dig in.
Amazing. Well, Kenna, thank you so much for this opportunity. It has been just so much fun to talk with you and have just a soul to soul conversation. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're more than welcome. It has been a pleasure having you here.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Midlife Butterfly. I hope this episode empowered you in some way. Share the love by hitting follow wherever you're listening and leave a review if you feel inspired. I also love to connect with you. Come say hi on Instagram at Midlife Butterfly. I love to know you. Until next time, keep spreading those wings and live in joy, growth, and pleasure.